listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
Hello and welcome back to Grave Discussions. We want to welcome you to episode number 32, Monsters in Our Midst. I am Barnabas.
And I am Samael.
We just did number 31, and we also just guest starred in an episode of Over Under Fair that was all about the Halloween franchise.
Yes.
And that just dropped on the day of recording this Wednesday.
Go, let's do it.
Yep.
Do it.
Go listen to it right now. It's great. We all have a lot of fun with it. We all share a lot of little facts and stories and everything and our opinions on all of the movies in the franchise. So you can go check out that episode right now on their social media. Go to Facebook, Over Under Fair, or go to the Sports Radio Detroit website, or check out any of their social media as well. So thank you to Over Under Fair and Sports Radio Detroit.
Yes, and we look forward to possibly doing more podcasts with Over Under Fair as well.
Yep. We had a great time there. And with that, we have some horror news to start you guys off with before we dive into our main discussion, which is going to be about the perfect monster movies to enjoy during Halloween.
Yes, and our lists are superior, so listen to us. Listen, we were probably born around the same time as you. We have similar tastes. Follow us. We will lead you.
Yep. 90s babies talking about 80s horror movies.
Yeah, because we can appreciate them.
Yeah, we were born like right there at the cusp of it, you know, ending, I guess.
Well, yeah, when we grew up, like when we were 5, 6, when we'd ask our parents, "Yo, can I watch something scary?" They'd turn on something from the 80s, you know. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then, you know, we entered like a whole new era, but the movies that we're going to talk about today are from an era that, you know, kind of went past us. But for the news, we're going to be discussing some modern stuff. So the first is about a new Dracula series.
This is going to be dope.
Yeah, I think so too. It's going to be made by the team from BBC's Sherlock, and this is a BBC and Netflix production. So, you know, UK, US, and I did see all of Sherlock, and I loved it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and I really like the atmosphere that they portrayed it in. It was like much darker because it was set in like modern times. So it was just a whole different show, but I think they did a great job with it. So I'm kind of interested to see what they're going to do with Dracula, because with Sherlock, they showed that they could do suspense like really well, I thought.
Do they have like the casting down for this, or they haven't really expanded upon that?
No, I think they're just like settling on a deal, honestly. So they're going to do Dracula.
Who would you want to play like Dracula?
Ooh.
Like if there was like, since there's going to be a new Dracula, who would you want?
That's tough. That is tough. I'd have to think about that, honestly. You know who I could see? You know who I could see possibly as like a suave Dracula?
The dude who played Aquaman?
No. I mean, I like Jason Momoa, but no. Mads Mikkelsen. Yep. Do you know what I'm talking about? The guy who played Hannibal Lecter?
Oh, shit. In the newer one?
I really like him as an actor, and I think that he could play like a suave, like Eastern European Dracula again.
How old would you say like they'd have to cast Dracula? I would say mid-30s looking guy.
Okay, that's pretty young, see, because like most of the Draculas were at least like middle-aged.
Yeah, I feel you, but like you know, since vampires don't really like age, I wanted to like, I was thinking like, you know, maybe we should make him look like he hasn't fucking really aged, like since his physical male peak, you know.
I think in modern times it could make sense because the guy on the last Dracula TV series looked pretty young.
You know who can really do it? And I don't know if you'll agree with this. I swear to God, he can do it. Christian Bale.
Christian Bale?
Picture it, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I couldn't get over him like
his facial expressions.
Batman,
I mean, I got over that. I didn't even see him first in Batman. I watched American Psycho when I was like 7 years old.
Oh yeah,
that's where I knew him from. And then when I found out it was the same dude playing Batman, I was like, no. But
yeah,
I guess
it is.
He's still not my Batman. My Batman is George Clooney. From that Schwarzenegger movie. Chill out. That was great.
I like Batfleck, but I'm not going to get into all that. But anyway.
Ben Affleck's a douchebag.
Yeah, but I think he plays a good Batman.
I don't think so.
Anyway, those differences aside, there's a new Dracula coming out. There's not really been anything announced yet, but it's going to be set in 1897. And it's going to be Dracula in Victorian London. So actually kind of similar to like the overarching story, but I'm excited for it.
So for like the next bit of news, tell us what's going on with the Scream series, because I've been just waiting and I want to know what the hell's going on.
Yep. So this next bit of news is concerning the Scream TV series. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but last I checked, this series was done by MTV, which, I mean, I don't know, but there's been this whole debacle going on, legal shit with Netflix and the Weinstein Company. Basically, like, after the Weinsteins, went to shit.
Yeah, those fucking assholes.
Yeah, and, they had to do a whole lot of stuff with all their properties and everything. Scream, the TV series, was kind of left in limbo with Netflix because they had, like, a deal, that they were going to stream it and everything. And then that was kind of, like, up in the air. So it was a lot of legal stuff that I don't completely understand. But basically now they did settle the deal. So I believe what this means is that the Scream TV series can officially be like pitched elsewhere to like stream. I think that's what this whole thing is about.
Wow.
So I think now like it's ready to be put out there because they already have the show.
Come on, Hulu, where are you?
Yeah, I think Hulu or Amazon Prime should pick it up. And
I think Hulu, more exposure, I would say.
Yeah.
But then again, everyone has
Amazon Prime, bro.
Yeah, like at least everyone who's with like,
yeah,
online shopping.
Like if you're not homeless, basically, like you should have Amazon Prime at this point. Like, it does so much.
I mean, along with like the 2-day shipping, like the movie selection isn't like, fantastic.
I think the
find
horror collection's good.
I find a lot of like throwback 80s movies I've been trying to find on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, there are a lot of good ones, especially recently. They've been adding like a lot of these obscure ones that I don't know anything about, which is kind of cool. I've also been seeing like Night of the Demons get released in more places and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like fucking Black Christmas, The Final Terror's on there. Did we ever finish watching Darkwalker? Anyway.
No, I don't think we did. I think I had to leave.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But anyway.
Hopefully that gets all fucking settled because I want to see season 3.
I do want to see it. Hopefully it'll be here soon. Originally it was said like fall, which I guess it's still fall, so there's some time, but I hope they get it resolved and we see it soon. Next up, Movie Pass, if you didn't know, has this whole like film division as well where they like, produce or distribute or whatever horror movies or just like movies in general, but this one's going to be a horror movie called The Reckoning by director Neil Marshall, who did The Descent, Dog Soldiers, and Hellboy. So the movie is basically going to be set in England in 1665 and follows a widow who is haunted by the recent suicide of her husband and is falsely accused of being a witch after she basically cock-blocks him. I don't know.
She cock-blocks her landlord, and then in turn he like labels her husband a witch and he kills himself. Like, that's fucked up.
Yeah. So it says that production is expected to begin in January, and it's going to be a female-driven film. So it should be pretty cool. I mean, it sounds like it's got like the witch kind of vibe to it. I don't know if that's just because it said witch, but it's like England in the 1600s, like mid 1600s. So, it just makes sense. So that's coming out soon. Next up, we've got a couple trailer announcements. The first one is for something that actually might be coming out today if you're listening to this on Friday. It's called Haunted. And essentially, you've seen Paranormal Witness before, right?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Mm-mm.
Well, you've probably seen like a similar show, like, it's like recounting people's experiences like in these interviews.
Oh shit.
With like paranormal stuff, and then they do like a recreation.
I used to watch A Haunting. They used to do that same Haunting. It used to be on Discovery Channel.
Yeah, it's the same thing basically. So like this is it's basically going to be the exact same thing.
Nice.
Yeah. But the effects look really cool. So I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, I'm looking at one of the photos at the top of the headline, the monster, one of the demon things looks dope.
Yep. Yeah. So it makes sense that it's on this episode today, but yeah, there's going to be a whole bunch of them. Like every episode is going to be different, like different people, I believe. So I'm pretty stoked for it. Come Friday, I'm definitely going to give the first episode a shot.
Oh yeah.
Next up is The Possession of Hannah Grace. That's coming out November 30th, I believe, in theaters. And think of this one as like a mix between The Autopsy of Jane Doe and like any teenage like ghost movie ever from like 2016 onwards.
Why am I not excited?
I know, right? I am excited for like
any of these, like the possession of this person, the taking of this person. Where did so and so go? Someone is missing. Like the possession of the witch house in Salem of the demons. Like, what's up with all these fucking like enough paranormal movies? Enough. There's just so many. Yeah. This is like the equivalent of the 80s slasher fucking craze, like where everyone was just making fucking slashers left and right.
These are just like depressing,
Yeah, bro, it's always like, it's never like, hey, here's a happy family, and then ghost, boo, spooky. It's always like, 18 children committed suicide with only yarn in this. Like, it's like, bro, chill the fuck out. I'm not trying to get scared by monsters, not disturbed psychologically, and then I'm going to have an existential crisis and want to go feed homeless children. I don't want to do that after watching a fucking movie.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I do like some of them. I think some of them are pretty well done, but there is an overabundance of them right now.
Yeah, like I don't know what to watch. If you go on Tubi, so many Amityville movies. There's like the fucking... There's even like the shark exorcism.
I was just gonna say the fact that exists like ruins the whole thing for me,
bro. Shark. We have to at least see it. Like, I'm kind of curious. Like, sometimes I just want
to watch like the first 2 minutes of it, and that'll like, I feel like I'll know right then and there.
Dude, I fly past these trash movies. Like, I'll see 800 shark movies in a row, and I'm like, and I try to picture in my head what each of these could possibly look like, and if they take themselves seriously or if it's just like a goofy movie. But like, I'm pretty sure they try to take them. No, I think they take themselves seriously. Seems like these directors are like, just stop with all these like paranormal movies. Like, like I don't care about like the smaller ones anymore. Now I'm gonna be like the opposite of a hipster. I'm only gonna be looking at like Hollywood like paranormal movies that come out, because I'm so sick of like
Blumhouse, anything by them, basically.
Anything by Blumhouse or like fucking what's the other fuckers?
Like Ghost House Pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
And shit, and they're literally Ghost House.
I don't want to watch anything that's getting released by Netflix anymore or by Hulu.
They do have good movies though, but there is a lot of them.
There's just too fucking many.
I mean, The Haunting of Hill House. Now, it's a great series, but again, it's basically like another rehashing of a ghost thing. So.
You know what it reminds me of? The Conjuring 2. Like,
yeah, kind of.
It's all the same shit.
Yeah.
You know what we need now? We need creature movies. And speaking of which,
here we go. Bone Hill Road, actually out now on DVD and coming soon to digital streaming or video on demand services. This one is like a throwback werewolf movie.
Dude, you said it's on DVD?
Yeah, it's available now. I actually bought it.
I was gonna say
be here in a few days.
I was gonna say we can probably get it through Comcast after this episode.
Well, it said it's coming to digital soon, so I don't know if it's going to be available, but
we could check. Comcast has everything.
Comcast does have everything. But I'm getting it pretty soon, and I'm stoked.
You got to let me borrow this.
Yeah, I will for sure. Like, it looks good, like it does look kind of bad, but with like the whole retro vibe and the like 100% practical effects in this movie, like I'm excited.
That's what's dope. Like, it kind of reminds me of like, speaking of werewolf movies, it looks like kind of like the Silver Bullet werewolf.
Yeah, it kind of does. The trailer honestly looks really cool. There's a lot of gore, and the creature effects I think are done pretty well. Like they definitely spent all their money on that. Like you could tell.
Dude, I definitely want to see this, and I don't know when it is, but when Cherokee Creek, remember that?
Yeah.
These two, like, I really want to see.
Me too. I'm glad that people are bringing back the monster movies because, for me personally,
that's the best.
Any time of the year, honestly, but especially during Halloween.
Monster movies.
I just want to watch monster movies. Yeah,
exactly. Like
like the whole time.
I think I want to turn on The Thing tonight.
Oh, dude, yes.
The Carpenter one.
Yes.
The Carpenter.
Let's do it.
Not the Thing from another whatever. No, the one that they were watching.
The Carpenter one. This guy has never seen it.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but he hasn't. But let's watch it tonight. We're in the monster mood.
It used to always come on USA when I was a kid.
It's so good.
I probably watched it and I don't remember it. If I watch it and I recognize it, I'm gonna let you know. But like,
it's like potentially top 10 movies of all time. Not even just horror. It's great.
I mean, it's Carpenter, so I don't doubt it at all.
So you already have faith in it. But let's talk about another incredible, fantastic, nostalgic, just classic monster movie. But first, let's hear a word from some other shows on our network.
Hi, this is Chris.
And this is Roger.
And if you like Tigers baseball, Major League Baseball, Minor League Baseball, analytics, pop culture references, movies, sports, food, check us out. Look for Tigers SRD on iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify.
Do you love pop culture? Discussions about pop culture? Ranking and rating treasured pieces of that shared culture against each other?
I mean, I do think Flea's a good bass player. He does what he does very well. And like I said, he's like a rock star, you know? He's eccentric. And what is so funny?
I just didn't know he talked so long about Flea. I didn't know anybody had so many feelings.
I do.
So many
I got
feelings.
yeah.
Music, movies, television, food, sports, pro wrestling. We are the determination of what is over or underrated across all fields of greater cultural consumption. Subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts and Podbean or visit us at sportsradiodetroit.com. Over Under Fair, your final word in pop cultural relevance.
All right, Samael.
And now we discuss one of the greatest. I'm saying one of the greatest because The Howling and American Werewolf in London, which is better than American Werewolf in Paris, by the way, you fuckers.
I couldn't believe that when I saw it.
Silver Bullet.
Yep.
If I could pick one out of all of these, I would have to pick. If I had to, like, just because of how many fans like American Werewolf has, like, that kind of like me. And this one has Gary Busey, so I'll say Silver Bullet out of all of them.
It is one of my favorite werewolf movies.
It was my first time watching it last night since I was like 8 years old last time I watched it, and it was same thing. Fall time, came home from school, it popped up on I think Sci-Fi or USA, you know, during like the whatever during the 13 days of Halloween, which it should be 31. I thought this was great. Like right off the bat, it's like super atmospheric and cinematography's done well. It feels like super retro. I think the cinematography was like ahead of its time because this doesn't feel like a 1985 movie. This feels like a 90s movie.
It kind of does, yeah.
It feels super. It has that 90s vibe to it. Like,
you know what's actually interesting about that fact? Like, let me spit you out a little bit of trivia. I read that there were actually a lot of goofs with the time because the movie was supposed to be set, I think, in like the 70s at some point, like 76, I believe, is like when it's supposed to be set. But a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the clothes that they're wearing, the cars that they're driving, a lot of that kind of stuff was, you know, all from the 80s. Like they couldn't avoid it. Yeah. Because they were trying to shoot in like a town. And they probably didn't have a big enough budget to just like get everything custom. So there's just a whole bunch of 80s stuff going around, but it's supposed to be set in the 70s. So that's probably why it looks ahead of its time, because it technically was.
Yeah, and it kind of like,
you know,
I don't know. I think it was ahead of its time, and like, this was like the first movie that made me feel some type of way right off the bat when the pregnant woman gets killed.
Oh yeah,
like that was that was a little too much for me.
This movie, it's kind of weird to like categorize it as a kids movie because it's not, but it takes place from the perspective of a little disabled boy. You know?
Yeah, Marty's a booger, bro.
Yeah, he is. But like, so you can kind of approach it in that vehicle, like as looking through a kid's eyes. But it's a really dark movie. Like, there's a whole lot of really dark subjects.
Oh yeah, initially it was like super atmospheric. I liked the lighting a lot. you know, because there was barely any. I like I mentioned, the cinematography was well done. I like the very first kill, like right off the bat. His head was swiped off, but it's like the reasoning. Oh, he must have fell asleep at the rail. Bro, when someone gets attacked by a monster, like an animal, there's marks left. That's a little goof that I kind of like picked up on. But like
there were goofs.
I don't know. It really didn't feel like super atmospheric, like other than like the beginning and near the end when like the sheriff was like approaching, you know, the priest's fucking garage, and he went in the garage. That moment like built the most suspense for me. I was just waiting for the Reverend to come out, and like as he's just walking, the camera's showing the front of the sheriff as he walks down more into the garage, show the back. The music is getting more and more suspenseful, and boom, Reverend with the eye patch. Like, yeah, that was like my favorite part of the whole. That's the part I remembered as a kid too. Like, that was the one scene that I couldn't remember where it was from. I knew it was one of these like coming of age, you know, werewolf movies with a werewolf in it. I just didn't remember which movie it was.
Yeah, it definitely is, because it centers on Marty, who is disabled, so he's in a wheelchair the whole time, and his uncle Red, portrayed by the incomparable Gary Busey of all fucking people,
the fucking unclonable, the unmockable.
Yeah, he's
something else, bro.
If we just presented him to aliens, they would just throw him back.
Him and Adam West were like the two most odd individuals ever.
Yeah, for real. But he's in this movie as the uncle, and I think he has a great role. But you know, he builds Marty these like motorized wheelchairs, and there's like drag racing flames shooting out the back of them and shit, you know?
Yeah.
And then he basically has like a fucking motorcycle at the end that just zooms him around. But
and this was one of those
it's, you know, it's from his perspective, and you know, we grow up with him, but since he is like who he is, he has to overcome all these obstacles. So I think it's very much like an adventure movie almost, you know, kind of similar to Summer of '84, but this one's kind of lighter, like in tone.
Yeah.
Almost, you know, because it focuses so much on like the family aspect of everything and takes us through like this big mystery. So
I like that it was like this and the next movie we're talking about came out in the same year, and both had like the same premise. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, there's a monster, and everyone's like, yeah, right, monster. Yeah. What is this, a movie? You know, like,
yeah, Gary Busey's character Uncle Red like does reject Marty and his sister basically the entire movie.
Yeah,
you know, even though he's supportive, he's still like, there's no such thing as werewolves, you know, until like he basically just plays along, like he goes and makes the silver bullet and everything, but he still like doesn't truly believe up until like the very end when he fights it.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
But, yeah, let's talk about the werewolf itself, because obviously in a monster movie that's the most important thing, is the effects of the monster, how it looks, how it kills, you know, everything. So how does this werewolf stack up?
If we're gonna rate it out of 10, I would say it was like a 7 for me.
Okay.
Because the initial part where he just busted through the window of the second floor was fucking. It was nice. It was. Yeah. I liked the way it was done, but like some shots of him were just weird. Like when I don't want to spoil it. Oh, everyone's seen it. When the Reverend's turning into the werewolf in the fucking garage, and then he beats the shit out of the cop with the fucking baseball bat.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, all right, you know, I thought this was a werewolf movie. That kind of knocked a few points off for me. They just, like, because I didn't remember that scene, and I kind of got like that they like kind of like drifted away from like the stereotypical lore of werewolves. Like he was coming out even though it wasn't a full moon and shit, and he was conscious of his actions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like more Hollywood werewolf movies don't really like approach it that way, but there are different werewolf like legends and like how they can be. So this was just another one of those, I guess. It was more of like there's like hexen wolves, like they can fucking turn into werewolves like whenever basically, and like some shit like that, like lycanthropes or whatever. I don't know, but anyway, I thought it was pretty well done. But yeah, I'd agree, like 7.5 maybe for me. You know, it was cool, but like I feel like the face looked kind of weird. Like it looked like smushed or something. I don't know how to describe it.
Like you could tell, like, I don't know, like the effects just weren't too great. Like it's not that the monster wasn't great because the effects weren't that great, I would say.
I mean, I thought they were okay, like for sure. It was a good monster, but I don't know. It just didn't have that like primal kind of nature to it.
This came out in '85, and Pumpkinhead came out only like 3 years after, and that was fucking perfect. I mean, even like Alien, like if that shit was done right, this could. I think the practical effects could have been done a little better, but it was a budget of $7 million, only grossed about $12.3 million. So I mean, good thing they didn't waste too much. I mean,
it was technically low budget. But
at least that's only the box office. I'm pretty sure Silver Bullet is still selling copies today.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
In giant like horror fan bases.
Definitely. Actually, so here's like a little fun tidbit. Shooting on this movie actually started without an actual werewolf suit.
Oh,
so, so I don't actually know what happened with the suit. I don't know why it kind of looked sort of weird. I think it was done well when they like weren't showing its face and everything like up
that's
from
what I was
gonna
say, when it was actually like at the beginning,
like a monster
when it bursted through the window when
yeah.
Before it was revealed to be a werewolf.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Like, those scenes were way better, in my opinion, than when we just saw it, like, rah,
Yeah.
But that's a whole other, like, issue. That's, like, cinematography and direction. This was actually the director's first and only directorial effort. Daniel Attias. Yeah. Apparently. I've never heard of the guy before either, but he did this movie inspired by a Stephen King book. But overall, I mean, I really enjoyed the movie. It's got that nostalgic feeling to it. It's very much like Stand By Me meets, I don't know, Bad Moon or something, which is another werewolf movie from the same time period, I believe. So, yeah, it's this whole like coming of age thing, but I think it's done well. I think the characters are good. The writing is pretty solid. And I think the performances are great. And I love that it's all just, practical effects. Even if it's not the best practical effects, it definitely captures like that 80s monster movie essence like really well, I feel like.
I think the Reverend like kind of overacted a little bit though.
Yeah, a little bit.
He was kind of douchey.
Yeah, kind of. He was trying to be like menacing, like quietly menacing.
He just needed to be more
the
quiet.
Whole time. Yeah. He just needed to be like a little more reserved, I feel like, but
yeah, he was like he would talk with his like his nose would like he would do this shit like when he talked like
yeah.
I was just like, that's not scary, bro.
Yeah, but Gary Busey and Corey Haim especially were great.
Yeah, Corey Haim was dope.
Yeah, he was always good. I mean, it sucks that he like died so early. I mean, shit happens, but he was great in the film. I really liked him. Possibly even a better role than in The Lost Boys, potentially.
I don't know about that one.
Maybe it's tough for me, but yeah, I think everybody did a great job pretty much. And I think it was a solid effort. It's super nostalgic cult movie now. One of the better werewolf movies for sure. It just in general terms, like overall.
Oh yeah, and since it's like, pretty close to Halloween time, if you're going to throw on a werewolf movie, this is the one to throw on cuz 'tis the season.
And speaking of which, we have a werewolf movie. I feel like that's one of the absolute must-watch it like types of monster movies.
I think werewolf, paranormal, and vampires.
I was just gonna say the other for me is vampires.
Those three are a must. Even if it's not like some kind of creature, you know what I'm saying? Like even a fucking Bigfoot type shit, like that Cherokee Creek stuff, like anything like. Maybe even Frankenstein. Why not throw on one of the fucking old movies?
Yeah, I mean, those are all great, I feel like. But for me, something about vampires just does it. Because I feel like vampires and werewolves are the perfect pair, because they're so different to each other. They're always portrayed as, like, rivals, kind of. So I feel like if you're going to watch any two, it's got to be a vampire and a werewolf. And we've got the perfect vampire one.
Yeah, and skip out on the Twilight and just watch Fright Night.
Welcome to Fright Night.
Douchebag.
Yeah, Fright Night is an absolute classic. I mean, this is regarded as one of like the best horror movies of all time, usually.
And because it's so simple. It starts off no fucking backstory about the vampire and why he is. Fuck that shit. It starts off with a guy trying to get some pussy.
Yeah.
And he's trying to mess with his girlfriend, and then she kind of doesn't want to. And then all of a sudden he sees a coffin being moved into his fucking neighbor's house. and then his girlfriend wants to like do it, and then he's just like, hold on, there's a guy next door, and there's a coffin. This is weird, and like he's just kind of like being like, you know, he's just kind of like ignoring her now. As soon as like his neighbor pulls up, and his mom's like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "Mom, there are people next door. Say goodbye to your girlfriend, Charlie." Bye, Charlie. And then she like slams the door.
Yeah.
They got a fucking friend, Evil Ed, who's like a master of the occult or whatever. He knows all that weird shit. You know, everyone has that. Like, I'm that guy. Everyone has that one friend who just knows a bunch of weird shit. And, you know, Evil Ed he knows all like the fucking lore of vampires and shit. And then Brewster sees his like neighbor, like, you know, was it Jerry Dandridge or was it Gary? Jerry?
Jerry.
All right, I wasn't sure of the pronunciation because like I got confused because like Fright Night Part 2 it's
J-E-R.
I know, but in Fright Night Part 2 I remembered it's like Gary Dandridge and it's a woman, so it's like
oh yeah, something like that, yeah.
But yeah, this is not the remake. This is
the original 1985, directed by Tom Holland.
And so like his first like initial weird suspicions were kind of confirmed when he watched Jerry like fucking basically eat a woman. And then Jerry caught him looking, and then, you know, vampires can't get in your house unless you invite them in. Charlie's like, no, Mom, don't let him in. Oh, well, Mr. Dandridge, you can come by whenever you like. And then Charlie's like, no. Starts fucking draping his hallways and shit and garlic and putting crosses everywhere and shit.
Yeah. He gets real paranoid real fast, and he just believes because he's been watching all these horror things, and especially Fright Night, which is hosted by none other than Peter Vincent, portrayed by Roddy McDowall, a legend, one of the most legendary horror characters of all time, in my opinion, one of my favorites. And we talked about him plenty in our episode on Fright Night Part 2.
Oh, yeah.
But he's phenomenal, and he starts in this movie as the host of the show that Charlie watches, but he himself doesn't believe any of this shit. You know, he doesn't believe in vampires.
Oh yeah, that's just a shtick for him, you know. And for some of his friends, you know, like the psycho ones, everyone has them. Like it's like all that shit is, well, in this universe vampires are real, but you know, to him they're not. So he's like, you know, who's this crazy fan that wants me to go check out a real life vampire with him? So, you know, Charlie takes this old ass man and his girlfriend, and they go to his neighbor's house and try to prove he's a vampire. I know it sounds fucking ridiculous, but he really is a vampire.
Yeah.
Turns out Peter Vincent's faith was restored a little bit when he saw that Jerry did not have a fucking reflection after he gave him like the fake holy water that wasn't really holy water.
Yeah. Now, look, the practical effects for this film, phenomenal. And only made better by all the great performances by Chris Sarandon, William Ragsdale, Stephen Jeffries as Evil Ed, Roddy McDowall, of course, and Jonathan Stark as Billy Cole, the familiar to Jerry Dandridge. You know, they
his ghoul.
Yeah, his little ghoul. The effects on when he
was
died,
melting and shit. That was
great.
Hilarious. It was good though. I like the makeup on Jerry, like the vampire makeup. I think they did a good job of making like the vampires look intimidating. And a lot of vampire movies kind of like, you know, jocked the look a little bit after this. Like they kind of started going with that more demonic vampire look rather than just like the two fangs and the blood, you know? Like,
yeah. Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman as the titular character actually kind of did sort of differently, because he looked more like a werewolf with a bat face almost, but he was freakishly tall and just like terrifying as shit.
Dude, besides The Thing and Alien, that's the third movie that I didn't watch.
Oh yeah, you have to watch Bram Stoker's Dracula. But Fright Night did it really well too, because he looked like this ancient vampire. And,
he looked like a fucking demon, not a vampire.
And until he turned into like the bat at the end of the movie, you know, when he like flies into the wall and fucking burns to death, he looked really cool, because it definitely different than, you know, like the classic Dracula. But he had sort of a bat-like face, but he just looked like this like ancient, sophisticated vampire. It was super cool, and I think they did a really great job with his effects. But Evil Ed too was great.
I forgot about Evil Ed when like the alley scene, the iconic scene when Jerry's chasing after Evil Ed, he turns him, and then he chases after Brewster's girlfriend and Brewster.
Amy.
He catches Amy, takes her back to the house, Evil Ed's waiting for Charlie, I think, at his house, wasn't it? No, he was waiting for Peter Vincent over there.
Yeah, I think he was waiting for someone. Wasn't he like dressed up in that wig or something?
Yeah,
like that red wig.
He looked. I think he looked better than Jerry.
Yeah, effects wise.
Yeah, effects wise.
I think so.
But he was like more. He was like he ended up being a werewolf. Remember?
Well, okay, so he looked cooler in my opinion because he was like just turned. Jerry Dandridge is like a really old vampire. I forget how old he was supposed to be. I think like, I don't know, like a few hundred years or like 1,000 years or something old. But and then his sister was like twice his age. I don't know, some shit like that.
I remember that.
But yeah, Jerry's old. Like Evil Ed just turns, and so he's like this ugly, like kind of decrepit fucking vampire, and just looks really weird. But vampires originally were actually like supposed to be able to turn into like wolves and bats and other like animals like that.
Gotcha.
So it made sense that he turned into a wolf. I guess he's probably like not quite as powerful, so that's all he can do or something. But his death scene was like, it was pretty disturbing because he just like laying there yowling.
That piece of wood that just got driven through him,
like
that was
transforming back into.
To be fair,
a
he
human.
jumped into it, you know. So
he I don't know. He was just like, he was kind of like the little like jokester, you know, little dickhead, you know, kind of character.
He played the same guy in 976 Evil. I swear to God.
Yeah, he really did. But it was a great character. It was very memorable, you know, especially for that line, "Oh, you're so cool, Brewster."
Oh yeah.
You know? That's like one of my favorite lines of all time. But it's a phenomenal movie. I think what they did really well is just like how they paced the story.
Yeah.
And how they like pieced everything together.
Same thing as Silver Bullet. It had like the kids being suspicious of someone being a monster, and then the adults don't believe them. And I wouldn't say this is a coming of age movie, but this is one of those like not even mystery horrors, like because you know we kind of knew it was different with Summer of '84 and with Silver Bullet because we didn't know. This one we kind of knew. It kind of like threw us in a couple different directions when he drank the holy water and didn't die, and when the crosses didn't work on him and shit. But then
because they didn't believe. Remember,
right? You have to have faith for that to work.
Yeah, against me or something like that. Yeah. Oh, and we didn't even talk about it either. But the not to go away from the whole like structure and writing and pacing and everything, but the practical effects makeup for Amy when she got turned into the vampire, that shit was great.
She still looked hot though.
She did, even though she had a freaky face.
It's kind of just like how ironic that she looked just like Jerry's old girlfriend too.
Right,
you know, like he had a photo of like of her.
It's so weird. It's so weird that element is in like every fucking vampire movie.
Exactly.
Like, hey, you look like my wife that's been dead for 300 years. You know, can I stalk you? You want to be my mistress, my vampire mistress? Like what?
And we haven't really talked about the score of this movie, which was dope. Like the alley scene with Evil Ed. Those fucking sound effects.
Very very 80s.
Yeah, it was like super super retro. The lighting in the alleys too, like they had that like that foggy atmosphere, like where you can't tell what's going on until someone like turns a corner and like.
And there was a lot of color in this movie, but there was I feel like there was a kind of a lot of neon colors too.
Yeah.
Like really like bright colors and stuff like that. It was a very like visually appealing movie, not only because it obviously looks retro now, but just like the way that they used the lighting and colors, I thought worked really well. There were a lot of great shadows in this movie. You know, that's what kind of made Jerry Dandridge scary, is like how they portrayed him, like all the shadows and everything.
You see the shadow a lot, like before he would like come up. You'd see like the bat's shadow, and then all of a sudden like the camera turns and Jerry's standing there. Like, I thought that was dope.
Yeah, I think they executed the whole vision very well. You know, Tom Holland's vision, I feel like it was totally recognized, and that's what really made this movie great. And now it's basically revered as like one of the greatest, if not one of the greatest horror movies, then definitely just one of the greatest like vampire movies or monster movies.
Oh yeah, it's definitely top 3 in vampire movies. I would say this. Haven't seen Dracula, so I can't speak on it. This, The Lost Boys, Nosferatu. I don't like the silent one. I like the remake with I don't know the dude's name. Was it Klaus Kinski? Right?
I believe it's that one. Yeah,
Klaus Kinski. Yeah, those 3. I mean, I haven't seen a really good, you know, vampire movie recently besides what was that one we saw?
Livid,
yeah.
That one was great. Yeah, French one.
Didn't even know it was about fucking vampires.
Me neither. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was great. But any time From Dusk Till Dawn is like my favorite.
And vampires, yeah.
Yeah, and vampires. But Fright Night is like at least tied for first in my book. You know, it's just it's got that great nostalgic factor to it because again, yeah, like you said, this is a movie that takes you kind of like on a journey. You know, there's this whole mystery behind it, and I really love all the dynamics between the characters, especially between Peter and Charlie.
Oh yeah.
Throughout like the entire movie. You know, they really become kind of like each other's mentors, which I feel is interesting. I don't know if I ever mentioned that, but I kind of feel like that's what happens.
Yeah, neither one was really in charge. They were both just like, oh shit, this is how it works?
Yeah.
It's like, do you know? It's like, I know this. Do you know that? Yeah, kind of. All right, let's fucking do this.
Yeah.
Like,
but Charlie is the one that believes.
Yeah.
He just looks up to Peter, like, and Peter pretends like he should know until he really figures out that he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Right? I mean, that...
Yeah.
And then in the next movie, like, it's the opposite of this movie. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Like, story-wise, it has the, you know... like a great story just like the first one, but the first one I think, you know, takes the cake because of like just like how it all happens. Like it was just like once upon a time in this town type of thing. It wasn't backstory bullshit lore, you know.
It's just isolated. Like literally it kind of comes in right in the middle of things almost with them delivering the coffin, and it just jumps right into gear like right from there.
And the fact that they're teenagers too is like because that's who like vampires should kind of target is teenagers. Like that's who monsters should target. Because if they try to tell anyone, who's gonna believe them?
Exactly. Yeah. Honestly, like the whole theme of adolescence is prominent in the movie because you know we do kind of realize a lot of the time that like oh shit like yeah they're kids.
Yeah.
You know, and this is happening to them, and they might get eaten by these fucking vampires that just popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah, because we've seen enough teenagers get torn in half in horror movies to know that they're the best targets.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's kind of like a sub-theme, I feel like, because lots of teenagers actually do go missing, like in real life. So I feel like there's kind of a subplot there. And just people go missing in general, you know, when they talk about the call girl who went missing or was found murdered or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. And I think actually in the remake, they might make it even more of a prominent theme, but I feel like it's definitely there in the first movie. You know, like these things are just happening to these teenagers and they kind of have to just deal with it all on their own or else they're just never going to be heard from again.
Yeah, that's that's the basis for I think about every movie. Don't Hang Up, Halloween, Friday the 13th, The Burning, Slaughter High.
Yeah,
cutting class.
But there is that, you know, grown up element to it in this movie with Peter Vincent's character. But I mean, even he himself with like his personality, he may as well be a fucking teenager.
Because they always need to get at least one adult on their side, like fully. I mean, you saw in like Silver Bullet, they finally got Gary Busey.
Yeah, Uncle Red. Yeah,
he was their Peter Vincent. You know, so
kind of. Yeah.
You always have to have the old guy that interjects me like, so you guys how it goes, eh?
Yeah. Except, like, not the wise old guy.
Yeah, you need, like, the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
The fuck up or, like, the guy who, like, he's just egotistic, like, yeah,
or, like, right. Or like, the authority figure, like, Dr. Loomis, you know, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, essentially, because there's the same thing in that movie.
Need the Ahab, remember Leslie Vernon?
Exactly, yeah. Yep, that's a good reference, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's the exact same thing. I mean, Peter Vincent definitely is their Ahab, and then Charlie has to go rescue Amy, who's been taken and hypnotized and everything. That whole scene at the club was fantastic, by the way.
Oh,
that was a great scene. You know, and actually, is it after that scene that the alley thing takes place?
I'm pretty sure.
For some reason, I can't remember it.
No, they were walking alone, and Ed was walking alone. Mm-hmm. He went after Ed, and then he went after.
Okay, yeah, that was before.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wasn't 100% sure for some reason, but that whole sequence happened, and it was a really good sequence. And then the entire third act, that was great. And then Peter Vincent gets his faith, and he like pushes Jerry Dandridge back.
He like puts his hand in front of his face and walks backwards and shit.
Yeah, and I mean not to you know take the caretaker's phrase away too much, but that whole
thing was
iconic, you know, and I remember it very well. it's one of the few like things in horror that I remember like really well, like how it happened.
Yeah, every movie has a scene you remember.
Yeah, that was the one for me, for sure. And then they find Amy and everything, and then they have the final fight down in the I believe it's the basement, or like the cellar or whatever.
Yeah,
and Jerry gets annihilated. So overall, it's a fantastic story. Like the whole structure of it, of the entire narrative, is just really well done. It's like the perfect time frame, you know. What is it, like an hour and a half or something?
Had a really strong script though. Like
it did, yeah.
It had like a lot of substance behind it.
Good dialogue.
Really good dialogue. Like especially, I think Charlie's like the one between Charlie and Peter Vincent. That was like all of their dialogues like were the best.
I agree.
I think with Jerry and Charlie too. You know, like the like kind of like subtle shit talking here and there. Like when like you know Jerry knows he's a vampire and then. He looks Charlie right in the face when he drinks the holy water. He must have been mistaken. You know, he's just like smiling. He's full of himself. Like, you know, he's a dickhead. Like, it's kind of like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? Because, you know, I can't do shit. You can't just stab him and be like, he was a vampire.
Immediately, though, they have chemistry, which is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have a great rivalry. Like, the rivalry is established right off the bat, which is good. Because then all of the other, like, scenes in the movie with them in it together are really exciting, and there's a lot of like electricity and tension between them.
Yeah,
you know, and it's always really suspenseful. I feel like, especially when he like goes to his house and like basically attacks him, and then I think like they hear his mom and he leaves.
Yeah,
and Charlie is saved. You know, it's kind of a weird like Deus Ex Machina kind of thing almost, but
he just got lucky.
It just happens. Yeah, his mom just came in at the right time, being annoying. That's how it is.
Thank God for annoying moms, eh?
Yep. Can't say I've ever been saved from a vampire like that, but it happened. But I don't know. That's kind of all I have to say about the movie. I think it's a phenomenal film. If you're looking for a good monster movie that really reminds you of Halloween because it just focuses on like the vampire and Fright Night, the show with all the vampires and monsters and everything in it, you know, it's very Halloweeny to me. So like this is one you have to check out.
I agree. Fright Night and Silver Bullet. The first week we knocked out Halloween Town and Hocus Pocus. Get your zany movies out the way.
Yep.
Then we did the Wes Craven episode, so we got you enough material for that week. And now we get you one werewolf and one vampire movie. To be fair, we could have did Monster Project again, but
yeah, we already
just
did
fucking
that.
been dickheads about it.
That's a good one too. But okay, then like just to cap it off. What are a few other monster movies that you could recommend? Maybe stuff that you've been watching for your 31 days. You know, what are just giving you like a few suggestions.
Pumpkinhead, of course. I would watch The Howling, even though like it's still a vamp. I would watch American Werewolf in London. Yeah. Lost Boys, you gotta watch the Nosferatu remake. From Dusk Till Dawn, John Carpenter's.
Doesn't have to be vampire or werewolf, by the way. Just any monster movies.
Do ghosts count, or you want like just monsters?
I would say like creatures.
Creatures. Well, that one movie with the Lord of Darkness, Legend, I think, with Tim Curry.
Oh yeah.
Also, Stephen King's It. Yeah, like both of the movies. Those are good. Creature from the Black Lagoon. I'm gonna watch The Thing now.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Let me think of a few other creature movies. I have a few. Obviously, Alien. I gotta watch Alien.
Yeah.
Predator was dope. Maybe some of the old Frankensteins.
Yeah.
Why not? Like.
Yeah, they're good.
Maybe some even like cartoons. You know, like watch like the. I don't know. There's always like a Halloween episode of every like thing where there's like a creature, like that Jimmy Neutron episode at the amusement park with the baloney face guy, whatever the fuck it was called.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Any of that shit.
Scooby-Doo and the werewolf, like that one. It's like, and the something werewolf. Reluctant werewolf, I think it is. There are a bunch, yeah. Any Goosebumps. There's a lot of monster ones. I have a few. I would say I have a bunch of like foreign ones too. If you consider zombies to be kind of part of it, Reanimator is great. Classic Stuart Gordon with Jeffrey Combs in it.
Dead Alive is
a good one. 30 Days of Night is great.
I would do there's these sci-fi movies. House of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had another one with the same name but in Spanish, Casa de los Muertos. Like they had that one on Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi actually has like a lot of good creature movies. Just turn on the Sci-Fi channel. Maybe watch that Twilight Zone episode, like the creature on the wing.
Yeah, that was.
Or watch the Twilight Zone movie with that one on it. Like
Tales from the Dark Side. The movie has some good ones. Creepshow has some good ones.
Creepshow 2.
Yeah, I would also say Howl is a good like newer werewolf movie. It's a British production, I believe, and it takes place on a train, and there's a fucking werewolf. It's actually really good. So I would suggest that one. Bram Stoker's Dracula is perfect. Species, Subspecies.
Yeah,
there are a lot of good ones. If you guys haven't been writing all this down, then you could go take a look at our 31 days of Halloween lists on our website, gravediscussions.net. We have, I know personally, I have a bunch of monster movies on there. Oh, one other one I forgot is The Host. I believe it's Korean. That one's really good. It's like an aquatic, large monster. But yeah, there are a ton. So go check out our list. See if maybe you can find a couple that, stoke your interest. Go check out more monster movies, man. I don't know. I'm pumped to see Bone Hill Road. I want to see Cherokee Creek. There's a bunch of good ones coming out. Monsters are making a comeback, I feel like.
They should, because, Paranormal's played out.
Mm-hmm.
Give us some, like, fucking, some mutated bear to be afraid of.
Like I said, I wanted, like, another good, scary mummy movie. We haven't had one of those in a while.
Yeah, there hasn't been, like, a horror movie that's, mummy-based. There's The Mummy with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Even with the original Mummy's not horror, so.
With Brendan Fraser, yeah.
I feel like that we are missing. Oh, I don't know if you could count it, but House by the Cemetery.
Maybe. Possibly.
That's like a monster doctor.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mutated mad scientist or something like that, isn't it?
I would count that.
Yeah, that one could count. It's just a great Halloween movie in general, too. But, there's a bunch of options, guys. Go check them out. Prime has actually been getting quite a few decent monster movies lately. There's also that Clown. So there's a ton of options.
Oh, Clown, yeah.
Yep.
On fucking Netflix.
Yep, that one's good. So there's a ton of them, honestly, that you could go just check out. But for sure, watch Fright Night and Silver Bullet. And yeah, I think that's all I have for this episode, Samael.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out our Twitters, our Facebooks, our Instagram, and also check out Sports Radio Detroit's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
That's SRD Sports Radio Detroit. Check out our website at gravediscussions.net. And we will see you next week on Grave Discussions.
This has been an SRD production.